All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. And for all the talk we've done since the season has ended for the Avalanche about our concern going into next year with an uncertain roster, as soon as the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup and the odds for next year come out, who's at the top of that list? Colorado Avalanche. Go figure. Brand new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel, over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And why not subscribe to our subtext while you're at it? Link to that is in the show notes below. Subscribe and chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. All right, sir, we see our rundown over on, if you're watching on YouTube, we will get to Vegas. We will just at least mention them. I know we don't like to on this show, but we'll have to at least give them a little bit of credit because they did. I was told they won something. We will get to Matt Nieto and his season grade, and the Avalanche made a trade. Headline moving trade, which we are not going to lead off with. Instead, we're going to lead off with what I talked about in the open, and that is next year's favorites, next year's odds. And I always love how it doesn't matter the sport, these come out like that.
Yep.
So quick. Like the as far as this sport goes, they're hoisting the cup around the ice and the odds are coming out. Like, man, that's great. And it's great for people like us. So we can already, we're already moved on to next season. So this one, I have to say, it was a little bit surprising.
Yeah, and I seeing that come out, we talked about it a couple times on the show. Like, everydayers know we've been breaking down like forwards and defense and goalies and what the Avs look like and what they could be improving on next season. But something we keep going back to is this core. Just, the established names. And if you're looking at the NHL as a whole, and you're looking at established names, the guys that are locked up for a long time, it's hard not to pick Colorado as one of those top-tier teams with names like Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. It's hard not to pick those guys to, run it back and go get that table.
Yeah, and I mean, the Avalanche are in a position every single team in the league is right now, and that is you don't have a full fleshed out roster. You have to go sign guys. So it's if everybody really is on the same playing field right now, and like you're saying, like you're going off the guys that they do have signed. Well, the guys that the Avalanche have signed are their big names, right? You're Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, like Val Nichushkin. Like you have those guys, and if that's that's all you really have to go on right now. I get it. I get that why they would be up there. Am I still a little bit surprised that they are at the top? I would say I am. I when I say at the top, I mean number one. I'm going to show it on Facebook, or excuse me, on Facebook. Who the heck goes on Facebook anymore? Yeah,
picture
on
like
YouTube.
Mr. Rogers.
There we go. There they are on YouTube, and this is our good friends over at FanDuel. So the Avalanche plus 800. I'll just go through your top 5 or 10 here. So Avalanche at number 1, the Maple Leafs at number 2, tied with Edmonton. So Edmonton and Toronto at number 2. There's your New Jersey Devils, Mr. Sullivan. Are we going to have? Well, you're going to be in a predicament next year. It could happen.
It could happen.
According to FanDuel, an Avalanche Devils Stanley Cup could happen. The Devils and the Bruins are both actually. Wow, there's a handful of teams there. Devils, Bruins, Golden Knights, Hurricanes, and the Lightning all tied at plus 1,300. Then you got the Rangers at 1,500. Dallas Stars at 1,700, on and on and on it goes. So if you want to see it, I put it up on our Twitter page. and it's on YouTube right now. If you're listening in your car and you want to see it, just flip over to YouTube at some point in time. But that's where you're at. That's what you got. I gotta, it is a little bit surprising, but on the other end, like if you really kind of break it down, and like we said, like, yeah, you're still going off of who is signed. Now this can change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now when it likely will, like once teams start signing guys, and if the Avalanche have a horrific offseason where they don't really sign guys that like really move the needle in terms of like free agents, and you have a team that goes out and spends and has money, this will change.
Yes.
This will change. But what the odds makers are saying right now is, as these teams stand right now, Colorado we really still like all of those guys. And like you said, man, how can you not like a team that has their core players locked up that are playing next year?
And I love that you brought up the point of teams that have money and teams that make moves, and that's going to play into these odds, especially because we talked about this core and these big names. That was all the Avalanche had in the playoffs last year. And you see where they're sitting. We had a lot of extra offseason, a lot of extra sitting on the couch, not watching the Avalanche play, because it was just Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and Cale Makar and whoever else was not injured at the time. Mm-hmm. So the Avs do have to make some moves to kind of be up there at the top. Like Toronto being right there at second is interesting because they're also trying to figure some things out, and it's new management there. So, and I hear they're trying to keep Sheldon Keefe there. We'll see how that goes, but everything else is kind of in flux. But if you're talking core, Colorado Avalanche is where you go.
And we'll get to a couple other teams I wanted to bring up. The couple that jumped out to me, well, three. One is right at the bottom. You have Anaheim, at plus 15,000, which means that you put $100 down on them, and if they win the Stanley Cup, you win $15,000. Good luck with that bet. But there's two that kind of jump out to me a little bit. One is Chicago, and I've lumped Chicago and Anaheim together because that Chicago is at a plus 9,000, which is obviously very high odds. But that is totally they're already putting Connor Bedard on the Blackhawks. Yeah, that's where he's going, right? And because if that didn't happen, the Blackhawks are down with Anaheim. So they feel Bedard is that much of a prospect and will have that much of an impact, where Chicago is not over 10,000. Chicago would easily be over plus 10,000. But they put them below 10,000 simply because of the Connor Bedard factor. That one is a little bit crazy to me. And the other one is Seattle. Seattle is at plus 5,000. And look at all the teams ahead of them that didn't even make the playoffs. Right? You have Vancouver ahead, or the same odds as Vancouver and Nashville. Winnipeg is above them. The Sabres are above them. Ottawa is above them. Pittsburgh, Calgary, and I think everybody else there made the playoffs. So you have a handful of teams that didn't make the playoffs that are a better favorite than Seattle.
Yeah,
that's a little bit crazy.
If I was putting this together, I would have Seattle right behind Carolina, right between Carolina and Tampa Bay. Feel
Tampa and Carolina have the same odds. So you're saying between Carolina, Tampa, and the Rangers?
Yes, because that was the other surprising thing to me. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning sitting tied with Carolina and Vegas and Boston, I think that's a little bit of the product of the name. I don't know. I think we might have seen the best years of Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think that window is closing, and I think that's going away. So I really think that power shift where Seattle will be bumping Tampa Bay down. I honestly think Tampa Bay will be behind Florida next year.
Tampa could be one of those teams that, how we're saying, this is not set in stone, obviously. And when it all is said and done and rosters we know are complete heading into the season, they could be one of those teams that drop a little bit, depending on what they do. But you can never count them out in making moves that improve their team.
Sure.
They have a lot of guys to sign, not a lot of money to do it. But they've made things happen in the past. So I'm not going to count them out until we're at game one and we know what their roster looks like. But you're right. They could be a team that maybe drops a little bit in the next couple months.
Yeah, like Colorado, tight on money, but have a proven formula that seems to always work.
So there you go. What do you think, people? Does it make sense the Avalanche are on top? Is there another team that you would put on top? I'm sure a lot of Vegas fans think like, what did we just do?
You have a cup. Be quiet.
Yeah. So it's another year where odds makers are kind of enamored with the Avalanche. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Let us hear from Bird Dogs, and then we'll get to Matt Nieto season grade and quickly talk about this deal that the Colorado Avalanche made with the Dallas Stars of all teams. Believe that. But first, we got Bird Dogs. This is probably Kyle's favorite sponsor that we have ever had here at Locked On. Bird Dogs is stretch khaki shorts designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg and give you a truly sculpted look. Who doesn't want a sculpted look in the nice weather? It's hot outside, beach weather. You can be walking up and down that beach looking sculpted, wearing some Bird Dogs, and they're shorts that do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. They're regular shorts, which are made of these stiff, restricting cotton, and Bird Dogs fixed the issue. They invented the cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches. So you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And they use an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Seriously, folks, these things are insanely comfortable.
And I'm going to be wearing them all weekend, Father's Day weekend. I will go from world's best dad to daddy.
To just chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, just shooting some b-ball out in my Bird Dogs. So when you go to birddogs.com/lockdown NHL, you get a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. Go grab that thing, my man. Show it off to the people. Beautiful. Right there. Once again, birddogs.com/lockdown NHL. And you get that free Yeti style tumbler with any order of the incredibly comfortable Bird Dogs. All right. So the Avalanche made a trade today with the Dallas Stars, believe it or not. So they got Fredrik Olofsson for nobody yet. They got him for future considerations. We'll find out what those future considerations are in the future. That's why they call it that. Yes, they're going to go 88 miles an hour, and we're going to figure it out. And this, you know what, Kyle? Like I it's not a move that I hate because they get a player. They need to fill roster spots. They get them for as cheap as you can get a player. It's a two-way deal, so you might spend some time in Loveland if it's not working out, but it's an okay deal. I'm not going to sit here. We're going to break this thing down like, oh my God, the Avs fleeced Dallas and stuff like that. No, I think when you throw the future consideration thing in there, Dallas just didn't want him anymore. Yeah. And look at what the Avalanche, he immediately signs with the Avalanche. And you're telling me that Dallas couldn't do that? If Dallas wanted to keep this guy, you would have got him for next to nothing.
Yeah, everybody, and also pump the brakes on the storyline of a Dallas Star that they gave up on and the Avalanche are picking up. We're not doing that right here. This is a completely different story. This is not Val Nichushkin. I mean, he's born in Sweden, grew up in the Denver area, so he's got some ties to the area. But I mean, he's got as many points, like you could probably count it on one hand, maybe two. Mm-hmm. It's a cheap depth move, like if he even makes the Avalanche, but it's just a healthy body. And you can look on Hockey DB right now, future considerations has no points right now. So it's already an
Right.
upgrade.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think he scored a single goal last year. Um, from things that I've seen, like I guess he had a pretty decent playoff, but oddly enough, like we're gonna be talking about Matt Nieto here in a second. I'm not saying he's like at that level, but he's kind of like that player. Like he has pretty good size and he has pretty good speed too. So is it one of those things where we always say like, oh, the Avalanche factor? You bring in a guy who doesn't really do much. Is it just a different system that might suit him a little bit well, or he will play better? We're not getting a guy that is going to light up, the stat sheet and wow you. But could he be that Matt Nieto style of guy that just fits, goes out, does his job, not a liability? That's the one thing I heard about him a lot was he won't win you games, but he's not going to lose you games either.
You president of hockey operations is Joe Sakic, correct?
Mm.
You know who Fredrik Olofsson's agent is?
I do not.
Claude Lemieux.
Really?
So
okay,
it might have been a little, hey bud, what you got?
And wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's go in the direction of Colorado. Okay.
So that I feel like this was just one of those, hey, what do you have on the cheap? I know he's not going to hurt your team. And who knows what he could do with the Colorado Eagles. But
yeah,
I mean, it's something to build off of. And hey, we talked about they need to go out and make moves. Like you said, the cup was awarded, and here we are making deals with Dallas. So they're showing that, hey, they have this next season in mind when it comes to moves.
And I think you're going to see this more. Like the Avs are just going to try to find, I don't want to call them diamonds in the rough. I'm just calling it, something in the rough.
Yeah.
Where you get these guys for cheap because you have to. Like there's guys that you need to sign that are going to soak up a lot of what you do have available. So guys like Olofsson, like you're going to have to find a couple more of these guys that are pretty inexpensive. Throw them in there. Hope they can do something. So we shall see. Having said that, yeah, we're kind of like combining this with the Matt Nieto season grade because I just kind of feel like he could be that type of guy. Yeah. So as far as Nieto goes, let's bring there he is right there, his season grade. Over on YouTube, 57% said C. On Twitter, 54% said C. And on Instagram, this was the closest vote between two letter grades that we've had yet. 44% said B. 43% were at C over on Instagram. So very tight vote for Matt Nieto. I went B-. Kyle went with a flat B. And there you can see his stats. Clearly, those stats are a combination of the Sharks and the Avalanche. I didn't just put his time on the Avalanche up there. So that's all year long. I just, you like Matt Nieto. You know what I mean? Like you just don't really say anything negative about him. He knows his role. He plays it well. And just like we were saying with Olofsson, you hope he can just go out there, play his game, play his 10 minutes, and don't make any mistakes. And that's what Matt Nieto does.
Yeah, Matt Nieto, more like Matt Bieto.
Hey,
no, but he did. Yeah, he did exactly what you wanted. Like it's a familiar face. He hasn't hurt the team. He does like 13 minutes on average. I mean, what are you really going to do? Mm-hmm. He did exactly what he was asked. I mean, he's a force out there. When he came back from San Jose, he was noticeable.
I would say he's a force.
Well, no, he's speedy. He's speedy. It's not like he's going out there and commanding attention, but he's noticeable. And there's been many grades we have given out where people aren't noticeable. So if you're out there trying, giving effort, like you're doing more than expected. Like he knew his role on the team, and he did it to about as best as he possibly could.
I think he does what is expected of him.
Yep.
He doesn't go above that. I don't think he certainly doesn't go below that. So the funny thing with Matt Nieto stats, right? Like his whole career is split between two teams, between the Colorado Avalanche and the San Jose Sharks. The funny thing, and we talk about plus minus, and it's not the end all be all as far as stats go. But I do find it funny here that any season Matt Nieto has played for San Jose, he is a minus player. And he's had one season with Colorado when he's been minus. All the other ones for Colorado have been on the plus side. And it's funny because this year, when he split time between the two teams, his 45 games with San Jose, he was a minus 22. And then he played 36 games with the Avs, and he was a plus 7. So, I know that stat doesn't speak to everything that goes on during a game. But when Matt Nieto plays for San Jose, he's out there for a lot of goals.
Yep.
When he plays for the Avalanche, it's the opposite. That just was glaring to me. And I kind of just find that funny. And I think that is just that speaks to a bigger issue, not an issue for the Avalanche. It speaks to where he fits.
Yeah.
Like he fits with the team. And I'm not saying it's not a good fit for the Sharks, but maybe just his style of play doesn't gel with the Sharks. But this goes back to 2013, 2014. And he's played 4, 5, 6, 7, 6.5 seasons. Well, maybe 6 total, because he did get traded twice to the Avalanche mid-season. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around that, but it's just interesting to me.
And you brought up he's been playing since 2013, 2014. In 2014, 2015, he had 27 points. That's his career high.
Mm-hmm.
He had 24 last season between the Sharks and the Avs. And he's usually getting that $1 million, 1 year, $1 million deal. Like in his last stint with the Avs, that was kind of how you knew the offseason started. When you see the Matt Nieto sign for $1 million, 1 year, you knew it's offseason, baby.
Yeah.
Like you're getting around 30 points for $1 million in Matt Nieto, who usually doesn't have the injury problems. Like you talk about with your grades and how you grade things. How do you play to what we expect of you? Nieto's doing exactly that. He's usually bouncing around in that high teens, the 20s, sometimes flirting with 30. Mm-hmm. But that's what you're getting out of him, and he's not a liability. So this is just Matt Nieto.
But you're throwing out like the numbers and stuff like that, and they're important. But you're getting so much more than that.
Yeah,
you're getting more than what it shows up on the stat sheet. You hear that phrase all the time in sports, like he does things that don't show up on the stat sheet. That's Matt Nieto.
Yep.
And he's good on the defensive end. He sustains pressure when he can. He's good up against the boards. He's a good battler up against the boards. He just plays the game, I dare I say, like an old school way where he's not flashy.
Yep.
And that's okay. We have enough flash on this team. He doesn't need to be that guy. So we'll see what happens with him. I know, he's an unrestricted free agent. And I remember saying at the end of the season, when we were going over like unrestricteds on the Avs, I would absolutely love to have him back. I think he fits well with them, fits well with the system and his style of play. I wouldn't go out, give him a 5-year deal or anything like that, but I think a solid 2, maybe 3-year deal, that'll bring him up to 32, 33 years old. I'm okay with that.
And he's always going to be one of my favorite Avs because of what he does off the ice with the Down syndrome community. He's always got my respect for that.
Yeah.
So I always am a huge fan when he's wearing the Avalanche colors.
100%. Yeah. So that's Matt Nieto's grade for this season. We're winding down. I got a handful to go. I believe, and I don't have it up because why would I? I believe Logan O'Connor is next. Almost certain it's Logan O'Connor. So that'll be a good one. All right. What do we have here? We got game time, and then I guess we'll give credit to some Vegas Golden Knights. All right, game time. It's the app where you can go and stop stressing about tickets. If you're having an event in your area, whether it's sports, music, comedy, or even theater, then load up the Game Time app, because buying tickets to your favorite event should not be stressful. Game Time has killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over the tickets and just get hyped for the fun that you're going to have at your event. Some things that we love about the Game Time app: they got flash deals on last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy your tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of the seat views, cannot beat that. Lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, even job loss protection. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, and you get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the season is officially over. We have the Vegas Golden Knights winning their first ever Stanley Cup. Was a little disappointed in this Stanley Cup final. I was how Florida played in each of the rounds in the East. You're like, okay, like, yeah, sure, they're probably the underdog, but they really weren't when it got to Stanley Cup final. You saw like a lot of people making their predictions, and it was going back and forth. I would say like maybe it leaned a little bit towards Vegas. And in those first couple games, I mean, it was all Vegas, and I think the Panthers just ran out of steam, man. Like which was a little bit surprising, because you would figure like, okay, this is where they're gonna play their best hockey, and they were already playing good hockey clearly to get to where they were. I don't know if it speaks more to Vegas or more to the Panthers just running out of gas.
I think it's more than just running out of gas. Looking at that injury report, they literally fell apart. That team was so just beat up, and you could see it in their play. And you said kind of disappointed in the final. We're seeing the ratings. I think everybody was kind of disappointed in the final. These
ratings were bad.
The worst
bad.
watched Stanley Cup since 2007. So that's not great. But well, Vegas, you did it. Congratulations. You got your cup. I can't wait for this whole offseason to be about you guys and how incredible you are.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to watch. Just because like everydayers who listen to this humble little podcast, no, I don't have a soft spot in my heart for Vegas. I just feel like some people love that. Some people love that the way they go about their business, kind of like, old school George Steinbrenner New York Yankees era, where it's, cutthroat. I'll make any deal to make my team better. I get that, and I'm okay with that to an extent. But come on, like, round one, game one, Matt Stone is miraculously better.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the stuff that just, and you can cry and you can say that it's legal, and it is. I get it. So, but it's just like, I don't know. Stuff like that just rubs me the wrong way. And, what was their final cap number was like $95 million. Whatever. Like you said, you got it. And it was almost like Vegas was going to do anything. They were going to scratch, claw, and climb. Didn't matter how. They just wanted to get that first one, and play the system, which they did. And we just want that first one. And they got it. So.
And I wanted to enjoy the Stanley Cup final, but turned on game one and Vegas doing the Vegas thing where they had like the night on ice, and it was like Disney on Ice display. And I was like, oh, we got a whole series of this.
Beyond that, man, I just didn't think it was good hockey. You're gonna get like the chippiness and stuff like that. It's part of the game, but it was just going a little bit overboard, even for my taste. And I don't mind that stuff. I enjoy that stuff.
And 9 goals to win the cup, like, come on.
Yeah, injuries kind of all over the place for the Panthers. And again, like, I'm not the biggest Matthew Tkachuk guy, but getting a 10-minute misconduct for just kind of throwing a rat towards the boards, like, I don't know about that. Like, there was some questionable stuff going on in this series. How many did he have? Like, I know he had at least 3. Did he have 4 at the end? 10-minute misconducts.
I think he had 3 because he broke his sternum. I don't think he missed time.
Yeah, no, he missed the last game because of that, and it happened within like the first 3 games. I know he had at least 3, even if it's just 3. Like, we just got crazy. It just, and I think maybe that had something to do with the ratings, where people were tuning in and watching these guys kind of like cat fight, like nonstop.
Yeah,
and it's like, are you going to play hockey, or are you just going to try to pummel each other after every single stoppage of play, which just gets old after a little while.
And how we were kind of just very blasé reacting to Vegas winning the cup. I think I would have had the exact same reaction if Florida won the cup. Well, congratulations, Florida got a cup. We shouldn't have that kind of reaction out of this matchup. This is both organizations' first time with a Stanley Cup, whoever would have won. And this is Vegas' first time. We should be celebrating this, and this is such a big achievement, but there was just so little. It felt like the whole NHL ran out of gas in that Stanley Cup.
Yeah. And as a whole, I thought it was a pretty good playoff. Obviously, the Panthers, that storyline was good. Even though it was against our Avalanche, Seattle getting past them, eliminate, the newest expansion team, and eliminating the most recent champion at the time. Like, that's a big storyline. So I thought Toronto, man. I mean, they finally made it past the first round and then just laid an egg. So I thought there was some good stuff going on.
Boston falling apart.
Well, that goes in with the Panther stuff. But you're right, man. Like, when it got to the Stanley Cup final, that's when it should be. All that other stuff should be secondary to that. And it wasn't. So we just got to get back there next year and correct it all. It'll be fine.
That was the
Did
problem.
you see that one person who posted? They put it up on Twitter. The 4 number 1 picks that Edmonton has, or the 4 number 1 picks that Edmonton has made.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Eichel has won one, all of the players that went number 2 have won a Stanley Cup, and none of those guys on Edmonton has won one of them. That was a pretty impressive stat and crazy.
Well, and McDavid will just get every other award. He'll just get that hardware. He just won't get the Holy Grail.
I still think he's going to get one by the end of his career.
In Los Angeles.
Long way to go in Los Angeles. All right, that's going to wrap it up, folks. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. So enjoy the weekend. We will be back on Monday. Hey, maybe this deal with Dallas kind of gets something going for the offseason in terms of some other deals that we might see for the Avs. If they happen, we will be talking about them on Monday. Until then, he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Monday.